Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Snipes Adventures. Today we're going to be pickling halibut. It's a two-part process, 5 days per part. So the first 5 days are just going to be in a salt and vinegar brine solution, stirring every day. And then the second 5 days we'll be doing a vinegar and sugar with the pickling spice solution and then putting it in our 1 quart jars. So this is what our halibut looks like that we got from Prince Rupert. We're going to dice this up into about 1-inch cubes, bite-sized pieces, right, for your jars. And then we're going to be putting it in our solution, our salt and vinegar solution. Hey guys, so for our brine, for our pickled fish, we're going to use salt and vinegar, white vinegar and kosher salt. For every 1 quart jar that we do, we're going to put 5/8 salt. So we'll go ahead and do that. I got a 1/2 cup measuring, so 5/8 is a little better than a 1/2 cup, so I'll do a heaping 1/2 cup to make up for the 5/8. So we'll call that 5/8 kosher salt. And for every quart, we're going to do 2 cups of vinegar. And this will be the brine that we put the fish in for 5 days. And every day we're going to stir it. And after 5 days, we'll make our second brine, which will be another 5 days. That's the brine we'll put in our 1 quart jars. This is just the salad bowl, which we're going to cube up our fish and put in here for 5 days in the fridge. So we've got we put 10 5/8 scoops of kosher salt in. We've already got 1 2-cup of vinegar, so this will be our second one. There's 2.
Okay, Randy. I need 10 of these. 3. 4. 5.
So yeah, I'll stir this up now. So this is quite literally all you need for this project is white vinegar, sugar. We're going to be putting some bay leaves in each one of our quart jars, and pickling spice. And we're going to be slicing up these onions into thin rings that we're also going to be layering into our 1 quart jars. We're going to put some halibut in the jar, some onion, some halibut, some onion, so on and so forth in each jar, and then a couple of bay leaves as well. Alright, I'm going to spare you guys the pain of me tying up these little bags of pickling spice because it's not that easy. I'll do one for you guys live and then we'll time lapse the other ones, but this is what we're doing. These little guys here, just filled with pickling spice. So the reason that we're putting them in these little bags is just so that when we put them in our 1 quart jars with our fish and our liquid, that the spices aren't just floating around, and it doesn't really change the flavor at all. It's more of an annoyance than anything. You're trying to eat your fish when it's all done, and you know, you reach in there with your fork or whatever, and out comes your pickling spice along with it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Like I said, personal preference. So we're putting in approximately 4 teaspoons for every 1 quart jar. That's our approximate 4 teaspoons right there. That's what I'm calling it. you can see why I spared you the other 7 that I've got completed there. And then we just tie them up like this so that the spices don't escape once they're in the 1-quart jars afterwards. Definitely easier with 2 people. Awesome, thank you. So then I just trim off the excess. I made my little bags bigger than they needed to be when I first started trying this. The bags were a lot smaller and I was struggling and making a mess. So there you have it. There's another one done. We got 8. I'm going to do 10 of them because I want to do 10 quarts. 10 1-liter jars. So yeah, we got 8 of them. We got 2 more to go. We got our 10 little bags of pickle and spice for our 10 quarts, 1 in each. Alright guys, we're going to cut up our halibut, like I mentioned earlier, bite-sized pieces, so probably about 1-inch cubes. We're going to cut it all up and add it to our brine. Alright guys, our brine has been in the fridge in the salt and vinegar for 5 days. So you're just going to want to drain everything and give it a good rinse under cold water. The strainer might not be big enough. Alright, our solution that we're going to put in our jars, in our 1-quart jars, is going to be, for every quart, you're going to put 1 1/4 vinegar, 1 1/4 cups vinegar, there's 1 1/4, and 7/8 of a cup of sugar for every quart. So this is 1 cup, so we'll just do just shy of 1 cup. Call that 7/8. And I'm planning on doing 10 quarts, so I'm going to do this 10 times. You're going to put it in your pot. then you're going to bring it to a boil. And then after it boils, once it gets just to a boil, you're going to shut it off and let it cool. And once it's cooled, then you'll put it in your jars. I'm also going to add our 10 bags of pickling spice that we made the other day. 10 of those. Alright, here's our 10th cup of 7/8 sugar. Here's the 10th one. Turn the burner on, high. And like I said, we're going to add our pickling spice that we made the other day. Add those. Wait for that to get just to a boil. Alright, while we wait for our pot to boil, to get just to a boil, let's cut up our onions. And like I mentioned previously, we're going to cut them into rings and add them to our jars. We're going to layer our fish and our onions in our jar. And then once that brine cools, we'll add it to the jars. Pickled onions. Sometimes I almost like the pickled onions more than I like the fish. Alright, while we wait for our brine to get to a boil on the stove, we've got our onions cut up, we've got our fish, our halibut, we're going to layer in our jars. You don't want to pack the jar, like stuff it, just kind of put it in there loosely. And like I said, we're gonna put one of our pickling spice bags in there, one in each jar, along with the brine once it cools down. So while we wait, we'll continue filling our jars. Alright, the brine has just gotten to a boil, so I shut it off. We're going to put it outside and let it cool. Alright guys, our brine has been sitting outside for a few hours. It's cool now. We're just going to put some of our pickling brine
sacks in each jar. And then we'll pour the sugar and vinegar liquid into the jars and fill them up. You can quite literally pickle anything this way. You can, any type of fish or pickles, cucumbers.
Oops, I spilled some.
I actually didn't take out enough fish to do 10 quarts like I wanted to, but that's fine.
Alright, we're going to put our lids on. After we get our lids on all of our jars, we're just going to put these in the fridge for 5 days. And after 5 days, you can open them up and enjoy. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful and you'll put it to good use and try it for yourselves. Can't wait for the 5 days to be up so I can try some of this. It's going to be delicious. My first time pickling halibut, but I have done other fish before.